Hey, we back. I'm here on Karuta today, and we're going to be talking about buying cards. This is kind of the counterpart to the last video I did on Karuta about trade ads. We're going to be talking about more than just trade ads today, just generally all the different ways to buy a card, how to find them. That's the main point that I'm going over today. And this really depends on the type of card that you're buying, funnily enough. If you look at the card's wish lists, then you'll find that people will sell it at hugely different prices, obviously, and that will actually vary how you're going to go about buying it. So, if I have a look at my tags, for instance, you can see here, I have my burn tag, which I've called Cook. I also have a trade tag, which I've called Trade. Now, I will post the cards on my trade tag onto trade ads on the official server, much like the one we talked about in the last video. Have a look at that if you're interested. And I will sell the cards on my trade ad for tickets. If you're buying cards, you're normally paying in tickets. Tickets is just pretty general currency. People are happy to accept it most of the time because they can buy cards themselves with tickets as well as anything else they feel like buying. So tickets is a good way to buy cards. But obviously I'm only putting cards on my trade ad that one, I expect to sell, that I deliberately want to sell, but two, I think other people are going to buy. So this is going to be the cards that I don't value that much, I don't want to keep them, but also it's going to be cards that have reasonable numbers of wish lists. So the first type of cards that we're going to be talking about is the ones right at the bottom, the ones that have no wish list, the ones that you might find on people's burn tags. Now buying these is actually a lot simpler than you might expect. Of course, you can't go onto the trade ads and search for them like you would a normal card because people aren't posting them here. They're not expecting anyone to buy them. But you'll find a lot of these people in the trade ads will say things like this. Excellent example. More cards for sale on the sell tag. So one ticket cards on the one ticket. Cards you can buy for gold, for tag gold. And you'll also see people advertising their trade tag and their burn tag and anything else like this. If you see someone advertising something like this, which is very common, as you can tell by the fact that we immediately found one, it's actually worth having a look in case you are looking for some super low wishlist cards. Of course, the chances that the first person you check has the cards that you want is pretty low, but if you check, they might have it. And if you go through and check a few people, as long as you're looking for more than like one particular card, then the chances are you'll eventually find something that you're looking for. And the benefit of doing something like that is they sell them for very cheap. For example, this person's selling for just gold or just one ticket or something like that. And that means that if you do find something on their list that you do actually want, you can get it for a really cheap price. You don't have to even pay tickets a lot of the time. And that's pretty good when the card is really low wish list anyway. You don't really want to be paying tickets for that kind of thing. So if you're buying the low wish list card, I absolutely would recommend having a look at these kind of lists because you can get yourself some good deals on there. I mean, not particularly good deals, but it's better than paying tickets for low wish list cards, you know? What about the other cards? Well, of course, if you're buying the high wish list cards, then you're just looking at the regular trade ads. There's loads of trade ads, and you can buy them on here pretty easily. However, how are you going to find a particular character that what you want? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you've got your search bar. So let's say, for example, I wanted to buy this Fire Force character. I can put that into the search bar, and I can find all the people that are selling that Fire Force character. Worth noting that you should do this even if you find one right away, because you might find a better price. Here, someone is selling for 7 tickets, and just looking at that wishlist count, I can say that that's not going to be the best deal here. You go, I just had to scroll down to yesterday, but we've got a 5-ticket one, and we've got a 4-ticket one just there. And if you continue scrolling, oh, there's a 6-ticket one. So yeah, it's reasonably easy to find cheaper ones. Of course, you'll also find more expensive ones, but you want to make sure you're getting the best deal that you can get. Because, in fact, actually, that's midprint. Midprints, in my opinion, are normally worth double, so this is actually a much better deal than that first 7-ticket one, I would say. Anyway, yeah, you'll want to make sure that you're getting the best deal, so you're spending as least tickets as possible, so you can then spend the rest of the tickets on something else. So I would recommend, even if you do find someone that's selling your card, just throw it into the search bar, check that you're buying the one that you want to buy. Even if everyone's selling it at the same price, you could get one with a slightly lower print number, or you could maybe get one in a better condition, or whatever you fancy, you know. It's worth checking all of the deals for the same character. Also, if you don't mind about addition, you can remove this out of the equation and then have a look at all the cards that are for this character, and then you'll find much cheaper ones because we're not looking for edition 4. If you want particularly cheap ones, you might want to put an edition 1 thing in there. If you're looking for the symbols, you can just copy and paste them off here, but it's worth noting Discord search doesn't actually recognize symbols anyway, so if I want, I can just put 1 in there and it will actually search for edition 1 characters anyway. The thing is, it'll also come up with all of these things that are 1 ticket before it, but there you go, the edition 1 ones come up as well. The symbols don't actually make any difference. You can remove these things and the Discord search works just as well. So that's wonderful. But now, as we move up to the even more expensive cards, we get some different methods of finding them. Of course, a lot of the time you still should check in the trade ads channels on here and on other big servers if you're looking for something particular. But with high value cards, there's a couple of other places you can check. The first one that I'm going to mention is the A market on Kaching bot. A market, you will see a lot of cards selling for 1 ticket here, but what's beautiful about the market is that you can filter it, right? Not just with card codes, I don't know why I highlighted that, but you can filter it by like character or anything like that, and what's on here is very exact, right? So it's a lot nicer to use than the Discord search bar. And while yes, there are a lot of 1 ticket things on here, actually there's not a significant number of low wishlist stuff on here in comparison with the trade ads channels. I would usually use the market for buying higher value cards. This could maybe mid-prints or particularly high wishlist cards, or perhaps if you're looking for something with a frame and a die or something like that, you could find that on here. Which is pretty cool. Of course, if you do want to find a particular character, we could search for Ganyu, for instance. You just do something like this. You can see all the Ganyus are being sold, which in this case is just the one. This is what I mean about the market not always having a huge choice. There is a limited number of cards here, but most people put their higher value cards on here. So if you are looking for a high value card, this is certainly a good place to look. If you're looking for a low value card, you can still look here. I would certainly not discourage against doing that. Just high value cards especially, I would say, is worth looking here. And it's also worth looking here to find some good deals. I see a lot of people finding some reasonably high wishlist characters for just a couple of tickets on here sometimes, and you can actually buy them off here and then sell them at a higher price, which is pretty good. Can you make a major profit off doing that? Well, probably not unless you're spending a lot of time scrolling through the market, but it is entirely possible, so would recommend having a go at that if you've got some spare time and want some extra tickets. Now, what about even higher value than this? Does it get higher value than this? Well, kind of. It gets more difficult to buy than this. And that is where we leave the realm of trade ads. If you're buying cards that people actually really kind of want to keep and are not advertising to sell, but you particularly want a card. Now, this is very important if you want to be buying things like low prints. People, if they are collectors especially, are not going to be advertising selling low prints, but actually a lot of the time are willing to sell it to you if you offer the right price. So, if they are not advertising selling them, how do you find these cards? Well, we're going to be talking about another Kaching command, which is a trace. I can find, again, let's use Ganyu as an example, all the different prints of Ganyu, varying editions. You can filter this the same as the market and normal Karuta collections. Anywhere between print number 1 and print number 500. So this is specifically designed buying low prints and mid prints. Personally, I would say why not make it go to 1,000? Kaching devs, sort that out. But anyway, yeah, it goes to 500 print, and it will show all the different editions. You can filter it by edition if you want a particular one, but you can see we've got all the card codes for all of these. Now, it won't find every single card. For example, you can see we don't have the edition 1 print 2 or the edition 4 print 2. This only finds cards that have been posted in servers that have Kaching bot. So you can't guarantee to find everything on here, but especially with something as popular as Ganyu, and especially with later and more recent editions, you will actually find a lot of the cards on here. So if you're looking to buy, I mean, maybe not single prints, but if you're looking to buy low prints, for example, we could scroll through here and try and find a particular card. Or let's have a look at this one. Oh, it's got a frame and a mystic die. Probably that guy's not going to sell then. Let's have a look at another one. And you can go through this list and try and find someone. I've done this quite a lot in order to try and buy low prints, and I found it's reasonably good, reasonably effective. You want to be looking for people that have not put cosmetics on their cards, maybe haven't even upgraded the cards, people that don't have a lot of stuff in the same series. So for example, if we look at this person, we could have a check on their collection of Genshin cards and check that, oh, they've got loads of them. Of course, they've actually got their collection private, so it's not a great example. But in theory, you could say, oh, look, they've got loads of Genshin cards. They're obviously not going to sell them, right? Whereas if you find that they've only got one Genshin card and it's this one, maybe they will sell it. Maybe they're not too attached to it. Who knows? So A-Trace is a good way to find cards, and you can go and DM these people and ask to buy them. Now, once you're doing something like that, because they're not advertising to sell it, they don't really care about the pricing, they will want you to make an offer, and they're going to want a high offer. If you don't offer high enough, they will just say, no, I'm not selling, leave me alone. So you have to be careful with your offering. Make sure that you're getting a good price. Maybe I'll make a video on offering for particular cards at some point, what I normally do with that. But we'll leave that to another time for now. But yeah, what you can do, you can offer for these cards, and hopefully you eventually find someone that doesn't particularly want the card that you're trying to buy, and then you can offer whatever price you're willing to pay for it, and you can get your sale, even if it wasn't even advertised as being for sale. However, as I mentioned before, even A-Trace does not have all of the cards on here, and when you're looking for Ganyu, sure, there might be loads, but let me tell you, some characters don't have any. I'll use an example, in fact, a character that I tried to buy a while ago. I can put Natsuru in here, and I'll tell you, there's no results, none at all, not a single print between 1 and 500. So then, how do you buy a card that doesn't come up with any results? Well, of course, there's other ways to find cards. So heading over to the main server again, we're going to go to our search bar, and let's suppose we are searching to buy a low print REM, right? I can put into the trade ads REM, and I will get so many results for that. Look, 90,000 people selling REM, but this isn't low print, and this isn't low print, and this isn't low print. None of these are going to be low print, are they? Because it's going to be chock full of people selling high prints. So how do you find the low prints? Well, we can start by searching for a particular edition that I want. That'll narrow it down a bit. Let's suppose I'm looking for E3. And then if you notice, right, we do actually have the print number before it. Now, you can't search for a print number that only has 2 digits or something like that, but you can quite literally search for a particular print number. Let's suppose I put 34 in here. I don't know, why not? You might find people selling REM for 34 tickets, but you also might find the print number 34 REM going up for sale. So if you are patient enough, you can sit through here and search every single possible number, and you might find someone selling the low print REMs. There's no print 36. Is there print 37? No. Print 38. You can imagine that this takes a little bit of time. So this is something that I would only recommend doing if there's a particular character that you really want to get your hands on. But that is one way to do it. You can search through the trade ads like that. Especially this is helpful if you are actually looking for a certain print number. There are people that collect characters of particular print numbers. So for example, collecting print number 777, I don't know, something like that. And you could be searching for that print number in here, see if it's ever gone up. Now, of course, when you find the trade ad that has that print number on, it's probably from a long time ago. It's probably already sold. But you can then take the card code. Let's just suppose this is the one that I was looking for. It's not, but just let's suppose. You can put the card code in here, and you now know who the owner is. Whether this is the person that wrote the trade ad or not, it is the person that owns the card. You can now do the same thing as we were talking about with A-Trace, DM this person and offer something and see what you get. It's worth mentioning that, of course, when you get the IDs like this, you can't right click and put message, you can't click on their profile or anything like that. So how do you actually find the person? Well, what I would say normally, going onto the Karuta hub and searching messages from them is the easiest way, because most people are on here. This isn't going to work because I'm on streamer mode and it's not going to let me search from. But if you put that in, assuming they've put some messages, it'll come up, and then you can DM them from there. The alternative is to get a bot that will check IDs. I've actually made one myself that I use, that I've got on here. So if I put get user here, it's actually going to tell me the username and tag of that ID, and I can then send them a friend request on Discord, and assuming that they accept it, which some people do, to be fair, you can then DM them even if they're not in the main server or any other mutuals that you have. Try and work out a deal. It's worked for me a couple of times in the past, especially with players who are not too involved in the bot and maybe don't bother joining the official server. The final method of finding cards to buy that I'm going to mention is actually finding them when they drop. This is more often than not looping back to the start when we're talking about the low wishlist cards, but it can be used for high wishlist ones as well. This is when you're looking for particular print numbers again, especially if you're trying to buy a low print, for example. If you find out what rough date a particular print number of a edition of card dropped, you can put the date with your during or before or whatever date modifiers in the search bar, and then search for the character's name and find when they actually dropped. Now, of course, this will only search for when they dropped in the main server, and a lot of cards don't drop in the main server, so this is not a super reliable way of finding cards. But if the other methods haven't worked, then it's worth doing. You can search through these 3 channels here on the main server, or on other big servers it'll be other channels, and try and find that card that has dropped. See if it's been burnt or sold or traded or anything since then. Once you've got the card code, you can still just view the person that owns it and check their ID, DM them, whatever, stuff like that. But yeah, if you look at a particular date that a card was dropping, you'll probably find it dropping. Most cards have dropped at least once on the main server, for example. So if you're looking at the right kind of date, you might see it go past, you might be able to DM people. Now again, because this is going to be looking at much older chat history, the cards might not even exist anymore, so it's not guaranteed to work. But it is a strategy that I've used in the past to search for cards of particular print numbers, if I couldn't find them with any of the other methods. At the end of the day, though, that one's maybe a little bit convoluted, so I'm not going to talk about it any further. Hopefully you understand what I mean. Because a streamer mode isn't going to let me do these search modifiers, I'm not going to demonstrate it, and I can't think of an example anyway, so you'll have to cope. But I'm hoping that the first couple of methods in this video work for you. Most of the time they do. The things that I've been talking about more to the end are for very specific scenarios when the other methods don't work. If you're looking for some very obscure cards, then yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes buying a card is really difficult, let's be honest, especially if it's a more niche card that's always going to be owned by collectors, especially if you're trying to buy low prints. This is an issue that I have quite often because I do buy a lot of low prints. But that's why I make a video on it, because it's something that I actually have experience doing. There you go. What a surprise. Steve making videos on things that he's done before. You would never have guessed it, would you? But anyway, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say this time, so hopefully that helped out. Wait, no I didn't. Future Steve here, who realised that he forgot to say something. Now, looking at the nicknames of the people on the official server, you will see that there's a lot of people right at the top. They put exclamation mark in their name, so they get put right to the top of the list, especially when they're server boosters. And they'll have, look, their for sale and trade tags and all written in their name, to encourage you to go and look at them. Now this I would not encourage paying a huge amount of attention to, because at the end of the day these people are going to be having the same kind of sale or trade tags as all the other people in the trading ads channel that are posting their tags in their ads. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to these. However, there are people that put in their name that they're selling everything, and these people are worth paying attention to. And I do mean that, because when you're selling everything, sometimes they're just trying to encourage people to look at their collection and make offers on things, in which case the same rule applies. But sometimes it's because they're quitting the bot, and this can make for some good deals. Now, often even people that quit the bot still sell their stuff at pretty expensive prices, because what they can do is that they can exchange all their cards for tickets and then for gems, and they can sell them on to people for real money, make a little bit of profit out of the bot, which is perfectly reasonable in my opinion. But firstly, some of them don't. Some of them will sell stuff cheaper and you might get a good deal. But also, some of them are just going to have really old cards. If they've been playing the bot for a long time, they've got a lot of stuff, but now they've decided to quit, the chances that they have some older editions of some lower print cards, this is especially aimed at finding, is actually reasonably high, because they're probably going to have bought these kind of things over the years anyway. So I would actually recommend having a look at those people's collections sometimes. You could be really impressed with what some of them have got, because some of these people out here have insane collections, and if nothing else, it's actually cool just to have a look. But personally, I like to pay attention to these, just scroll through their collections sometimes and see if they own anything I want. If they don't, it's no big problem. I don't lose anything for looking through their collection, and of course if they've got their collection private anyway, it doesn't help me at all, although that doesn't make a whole lot of sense when they're trying to sell stuff. But anyway, what happens if they do have something though is that then not only do they have something that you want, but you know that they're selling it. So it's maybe a bit more of a guaranteed way to get a seller than looking at something like A Trace. If you're looking for those lower print, older edition cards, like if you're trying to buy mid print or low print E1s or E2s, that's a good way to go about it. Now, if you're just looking for one particular card, would not recommend. The chances that you find one particular card isn't going to happen. Like, oh, I exactly want a low print rem. The chances that you find someone with a low print rem like this is pretty small. But if you are looking for a bunch of cards, have a look at some collections and see if these people have any. I would recommend doing that. And you can just find them by looking at their nicknames. You could also search something like quit in trade ads. You'll find a lot of players quitting there. There you look, quitting Karuta, so I'm selling my Mystic job board and all my cards for cheap DM offers. Now he says it's for cheap. Is it actually for cheap, or is he just doing some advertising? That I can't tell you. You'd have to check with him, but it's worth having a look at his collection and seeing if there's anything you like. Anyway, back to past me who's ending the video. Hopefully you know how to buy cards. At the end of the day, I would mostly just say look at trade ads. You know, trade ads is always the best way to buy cards, and unless you're looking for something very particular, trade ads is normally going to cut it for you, so you should be all good. But either way, I'm gonna end this video here. Bye.